Princess Lyra stood at the grand window of the Crystal Hall, watching three moons rise over Zalvine Prime. The light made the towers of her city glow like captured stars. She crossed her arms, her silver scales catching the moonlight, even in her humanoid form. Behind her, the Great Council waited for her answer. They had been waiting for months. Princess Lyra, Elder Kavros spoke again, his voice patient but firm. The coronation cannot proceed without a companion. This has been our way for 10,000 years. Lyra turned to face the 12 council members. Each one represented a different species in their alliance. Some had fur, others had feathers, and a few had skin that changed colors with their moods. All of them looked at her with the same expectation. I understand the tradition, Lyra said, keeping her voice calm. But I do not understand why I must bond my life to another being just to rule my own people. My mother ruled alone after my father passed. She was a great queen. Your mother had already completed the bonding ceremony, Kavros replied. The law is clear. A ruler must show they can unite different minds and hearts. How can you lead an alliance of worlds if you cannot bond with one companion? Lyra felt frustration building in her chest. She had studied for this role her entire life. She spoke 12 languages. She understood trade agreements and peace treaties. She could shift into her dragon form and fly faster than most ships. Why was an ancient ceremony more important than all of that? Give me more time, she said. The coronation is in 30 days, another council member said. This was Senna, whose people had blue crystalline skin. We have brought suitable companions from every corner of the alliance. You have rejected them all. That was true. Lyra had met 17 potential companions over the past year. Warriors, scholars, artists, and diplomats. All of them were impressive in their own ways. All of them made her feel trapped. They were not right, Lyra said simply. Or perhaps you are not looking with an open heart, Kavros suggested gently. Before Lyra could respond, the great doors of the hall opened. Her advisor, a small furry creature named Pip, hurried inside. He looked worried. Forgive the interruption, Pip said, bowing quickly. But the Earth delegation has arrived early. They are requesting an audience. Lyra felt a flicker of curiosity. Earth was the newest member of their alliance, having joined just 6 months ago. You humans were still a mystery to most of the galaxy. Their planet was small and their technology was simple compared to other alliance worlds, but something about them had impressed the council enough to grant membership. Show them in, Kavros said before Lyra could speak. Pip nodded and disappeared through the doors. A few moments later, 5 humans entered the Crystal Hall. Lyra had seen images of humans before, but these were the first ones she had met in person. They walked upright like she did in her humanoid form, with skin in shades of brown and tan. Their clothes were simple compared to the flowing robes most Alliance species wore. The human in front stepped forward and bowed. He was tall, with dark skin and kind eyes. Honored Council, Princess Lyra, he said. His voice was warm. I am Ambassador James Peterson from Earth. Thank you for receiving us early. We bring greetings from our world and gifts of friendship. Lyra watched as the other humans placed small boxes on the council table. Inside were items from Earth, foods, fabrics, and small devices that played something called music. The council members examined them with interest. One human stayed slightly apart from the others. He was younger than the ambassador, with light brown hair and blue eyes that seemed to notice everything. He was looking up at the crystal ceiling with genuine wonder on his face. And who is this? Kavros asked, noticing the same thing. The young man turned and gave a small, embarrassed smile. Daniel Cooper, sir. I'm a xenobiologist. I study how different species communicate and live together. He paused. Your architecture is amazing. The way the crystals catch and bend the light, it must create different moods throughout the day. Despite herself, Lyra found the observation interesting. Most visitors commented on the beauty or the size of their buildings. Few noticed how the light was part of their design, how it helped dragon shifters feel connected to the sky even when indoors. You are perceptive, Senna said, sounding pleased. Daniel's smile grew. I try to understand what matters to each culture. It's the only way to really communicate, isn't it? To see the world through someone else's eyes? Several council members nodded in approval. Lyra felt something uncomfortable twist in her stomach. She did not like how easily this human charmed her council. Ambassador Peterson spoke again. We hope to learn much from all of you. On Earth has so much to discover about living in harmony with different species. We are honored to be part of this alliance. The council session continued with formal welcomes and discussions of trade. Lyra tried to pay attention, but her eyes kept drifting to Daniel Cooper. He was making notes in a small book, sketching the council chamber. Once, he looked up and caught her watching him. He smiled, a simple friendly expression, and returned to his sketching. Lyra looked away quickly. She did not need more complications in her life. The meeting ended as the moons reached their highest point. The council members began to leave, still discussing the human delegation. Kavros paused beside Lyra. Interesting people, these humans, he said quietly. I suppose, Lyra replied, not wanting to encourage the conversation. The young one, Daniel, he has a companion's spirit, open, curious, seeking connection. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Do not start, Kavros. The elder smiled and said nothing more, but Lyra saw the knowing look in his eyes as he walked away. She stood alone in the crystal hall, watching the humans leave through the grand doors. Daniel Cooper glanced back once, his expression thoughtful. Then they were gone. Pip appeared at her elbow. The council wants an answer in 30 days, my lady. I know, Lyra said. Far below the city, an alarm began to sound. Pip's ears perked up, listening to the emergency frequency. His face went pale. Princess, there's a distress call from the Outer Rim. The mining colony on Asteroid 7. They're under attack. Lyra's peaceful evening shattered. She turned from the window, her mind already shifting to crisis mode. Prepare my ship. I leave within the hour. Lyra strode into the launch bay, her long coat flowing behind her. Engineers were already preparing her personal ship, a sleek silver vessel built for speed. She checked the weapon systems and navigation, her hands moving with practiced confidence. Princess, the council says you should wait for the military fleet, Pip called, running to keep up with her. They will be ready in 3 hours. 3 hours is too long, Lyra said, climbing into the cockpit. People are dying now. At least take guards with you. The ship only holds 4 people and I need the space for survivors. Lyra began the launch sequence. The engines hummed to life. I will be fine, Pip. I have done this before. A voice called out from across the bay. Wait. I request permission to join you. Lyra looked down to see Daniel Cooper jogging toward her ship. He carried a large medical bag over his shoulder. Ambassador Peterson was with him, looking concerned. What are you doing? Lyra asked. Daniel reached the ship, slightly out of breath. I heard about the attack on the emergency channels. You'll need medical help. I'm trained in emergency field medicine for multiple species. This is not your concern, human, Lyra said coldly. This is Alliance business. Earth is part of the Alliance now, Daniel replied calmly. That makes it our business too. Besides, I studied Zalvine physiology and 12 other species in the Alliance. I can help the injured while you focus on the rescue. Ambassador Peterson put a hand on Daniel's shoulder. You do not have to do this. Yes, I do, Daniel said simply. It is what we do. Lyra studied the young human. His face was serious but not afraid. She did not have time to argue, and he was right about one thing. If there were many injured, she would need help. She could not carry everyone and treat wounds at the same time. Get in, she said finally. Touch nothing unless I tell you to. Daniel's face lit up with a quick smile. He climbed into the co-pilot seat, securing his medical bag. Ambassador Peterson stepped back as the ship's doors sealed shut. Try not to get killed, Peterson called through the intercom. Earth just joined this alliance. Losing someone on day 1 would look bad. Daniel laughed despite the tension. I'll do my best, sir. Lyra launched the ship without warning. The sudden acceleration pressed them both back into their seats. Within seconds, they burst through the atmosphere and into the darkness of space. Stars stretched around them like diamonds scattered on black silk. The flight to Asteroid 7 would take 2 hours at maximum speed. Lyra set the course and tried to ignore her passenger. Daniel said nothing for the first 30 minutes. He just watched the stars and occasionally checked his medical supplies. Finally, he spoke. "Thank you for letting me come." "I did not let you. I simply did not have time to argue." "Still, thank you." He paused. "Can I ask you something?" "Your council mentioned a coronation in 30 days. Is that a big ceremony?" Lyra's hands tightened on the controls. Of course, the human had heard that conversation. "Yes, very big. But something is wrong with it?" You seemed upset during the meeting. "It is not your concern." Daniel nodded and fell silent again. Lyra expected him to push for more information the way others always did. But he simply returned to looking out the window, giving her space. Something about that made her feel guilty for being rude. "They want me to choose a bonded companion," she said suddenly. She was not sure why she was telling him this. "It is tradition. But I do not want someone chosen just to satisfy old rules." "That makes sense," Daniel said. "Important choices should not be forced. They should feel right." "Exactly." Lyra glanced at him, surprised. "Most people think I am being stubborn." "Maybe you are," Daniel said with a small smile. "But sometimes stubborn is just another word for knowing what you need, even if others do not understand it yet." Before Lyra could respond, the ship's alarm sounded. They were approaching Asteroid 7. Lyra's display showed 3 small raider ships circling the mining colony. Smoke poured from several buildings. "Hold on," Lyra warned. She dove the ship toward the asteroid, moving so fast the raiders did not notice until she was right on them. Lyra fired warning shots across the lead ship's path. The raiders scattered, clearly not expecting resistance. They jumped to light speed and disappeared. "Cowards," Lyra muttered. "They only attack those who cannot fight back." She landed the ship near the main colony building. Through the windows they could see the devastation. Buildings had collapsed. Fires burned in several sections. Worst of all, there was no movement. Stay close to me," Lyra ordered as they exited the ship. "The asteroid has low gravity. If you float away, I cannot come after you immediately." Daniel nodded, adjusting his magnetic boots. They moved through the colony carefully. The silence was terrible. Then they heard it. A faint tapping sound, rhythmic and desperate. "Someone is alive," Daniel said, pointing to a collapsed tunnel entrance. "That's a distress signal. 3 taps, pause, 3 taps." They ran to the entrance. A massive metal beam blocked the way, with rocks and debris piled behind it. Lyra shifted partially, allowing her dragon strength to flow into her arms. She grabbed the beam and pulled. The beam moved, but the rocks shifted dangerously. A grinding sound echoed through the tunnel. "Stop," Daniel called. "The whole thing will collapse. You will bury them deeper." Lyra released the beam, frustrated. "Then what do you suggest, human? I cannot reach them without moving this." Daniel knelt by the debris, examining it carefully. He pulled out a small device from his bag. "On Earth, we have mines that collapse sometimes. We use a technique called careful extraction. Small movements, supporting weight as we go." He looked up at her. "But I need your help. My strength alone is not enough." "Tell me what to do," Lyra said. For the next hour, they worked together. Daniel identified which rocks to move first. Lyra used her strength to lift them carefully while Daniel placed supports. It was slow, delicate work. Lyra had never been patient with such tasks, but Daniel's calm focus helped her stay controlled. "There," Daniel said finally. "I can see them. 5 people, maybe 6. Lyra peered through the gap they had created. She could see survivors huddled together in the darkness. 2 adults and 4 children of different species. They looked up with hope in their eyes. "We are here," Lyra called to them in the common language. "Stay calm, we will get you out." Working together, Lyra and Daniel widened the opening. One by one, they pulled the survivors out. 2 were injured badly. Daniel immediately began treating them with supplies from his bag. His hands moved with gentle efficiency, and he spoke softly to the frightened children. "You are safe now," he told them. The princess came for you. One small child, a Zalvin with golden scales, looked at Lyra with wide eyes. You came yourself? A real princess? I came, Lyra confirmed, feeling her heart tighten. Of course I came. They searched the rest of the colony. By the time they finished, they had found 37 survivors. Lyra's ship could hold them all if they squeezed together. Daniel made sure the injured were comfortable, singing soft Earth songs to keep the children calm during the flight home. As they entered orbit around Zalvine Prime, Daniel looked at Lyra. We made a good team today. Lyra met his eyes and found herself agreeing. Yes, we did. The Crystal Hall was filled with celebrating people when Lyra and Daniel returned. News of the rescue had spread quickly. Families rushed forward to embrace the survivors they thought they had lost. Council members praised Lyra's quick action. Through it all, Daniel stood quietly to the side, looking tired but content. Lyra watched him from across the hall. He had fallen asleep sitting up twice during the flight home, but had refused to rest until every injured person was safely delivered to the medical center. Now he was trying to slip away unnoticed while everyone focused on her. Where do you think you're going? Lyra called out. Daniel turned, surprised. Back to the Earth quarters. You have important people to talk to. I don't want to be in the way. You helped save those people. You should stay for the gratitude ceremony. Daniel shook his head with a small smile. I didn't do it for ceremonies. I did it because it needed to be done. He paused. Besides, you did the hard part. I just pointed at rocks. Before Lyra could respond, Elder Kavros approached them. Daniel Cooper, Earth should be proud to have you represent them. You showed great courage today. Thank you, Monsieur, Daniel said, bowing respectfully. Kavros turned to Lyra with a meaningful look. And you, Princess, showed great wisdom in accepting help. A leader who can work in harmony with others is rare and valuable. Lyra felt her cheeks warm. She knew exactly what Kavros was suggesting. It was simply practical, nothing more. Of course, Kavros said, but his eyes twinkled with amusement before he walked away. Over the next 10 days, Lyra found herself thinking about the rescue mission often. She told herself she was simply reviewing the events to write a proper report. But truthfully, she kept remembering small moments. The way Daniel had stayed calm when she wanted to force through the debris. How gently he had treated the frightened children. His tired smile as they flew home. She began noticing him around the city. Earth had set up a temporary embassy in the lower district, and Daniel spent his days working with the refugee families from Asteroid 7. Lyra would see him teaching human medical techniques to local doctors or sitting with traumatized children, helping them talk about their fears. One afternoon, Lyra found herself walking past the refugee center. She told herself she was simply inspecting the facilities. Through a window, she saw Daniel sitting with 3 children, showing them pictures of Earth. They were laughing at images of something called a giraffe. He comes every day, a voice said beside her. Lyra turned to find Pip, her advisor. The small creature looked amused. I was not watching him, Lyra said defensively. Of course not, my lady. You just happen to walk past this building every day now. Pip's ears twitched with suppressed laughter. The coronation is in 20 days. The council is getting anxious. I know how many days remain, Lyra snapped. Several suitable companions have requested another audience with you. Lord Vex of the Crimson Planet brings impressive credentials. Lady Senna's cousin is a brilliant strategist. I will consider them. But Lyra knew she would not. She had already decided that if she must choose someone just to satisfy tradition, she would rather not become queen at all. The thought made her sad, but false companionship seemed worse than no crown. 3 days later, the city celebrated the Festival of Twin Moons. The event happened only once every 5 years when both of Zalvine Prime's largest moons aligned perfectly. In the streets filled with music and dancing. Colored lights drifted through the air like lazy stars. Lyra attended in her formal robes, greeting important guests and making speeches. It was exhausting. She slipped away as soon as she could, finding a quiet garden at the edge of the celebration. The twin moons hung huge and silver above her. Beautiful night, a familiar voice said. Lyra jumped slightly. Daniel was sitting on a bench half hidden by flowering vines. He held a cup of something steaming. "What are you doing here?" Lyra asked. "The embassy staff invited me to the festival, but it was too crowded." He gestured to the empty space beside him. "This seemed like a better spot. I hope I'm not trespassing." "This is a public garden," Lyra said. She hesitated, then sat down, leaving space between them. You do not enjoy celebrations?" "I enjoy them fine. Just not when there are thousands of people." Daniel took a sip of his drink. "I'm better one-on-one. Or in small groups. Big crowds make me feel alone even when I'm surrounded." Lyra understood that feeling more than she wanted to admit. "Yes. Everyone wants something from you, but no one really sees you." "Exactly." Daniel looked at her with understanding in his eyes. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Music drifted from the festival, soft and distant. The garden smelled like night flowers, sweet and gentle. "Can I ask you something?" Daniel said finally. "Did you ever find a companion for your coronation?" Lyra sighed. "No. I have met many candidates. All of them were impressive in their own way. Strong warriors, brilliant minds, powerful families." She paused. "Why, but none of them felt right. They wanted the crown or the status. They saw Princess Lyra, not just Lyra." "That must be lonely," Daniel said quietly. "It is. But I will not bond my life to someone just to wear a crown. That seems like a betrayal of what companionship should mean." Daniel nodded slowly. "On Earth, we have marriages. It's similar, I think. Two people promising to face life together. My parents had that kind of bond. They saw each other's real selves, both the good and the difficult parts. They made each other stronger." "That sounds wonderful," Lyra said softly. "It was. I watched them support each other through hard times. My father died when I was 16. An accident." Daniel's voice grew quiet. "But even after he was gone, my mother would say she was grateful for every day they had together. And that real connection was worth any pain. I am sorry for your loss." "Thank you. It taught me something, though. Life is short, even for long-lived species. The connections we make, the people we choose to walk beside, those are what matter. Not status or tradition or what others expect." Lyra found herself moving closer to him on the bench. "You are wise for someone so young," Daniel laughed. "I'm not that young. 28 is fairly grown up for humans. I am 43, young for my people." "Then we are both young and supposedly wise," Daniel said with a grin. "Though I feel like I'm mostly just guessing at life and hoping for the best." "That is more honest than most people," Lyra said. Suddenly, shouts erupted from the festival, then screams. Lyra and Daniel both jumped to their feet. Smoke rose from the main plaza, a dark against the moonlit sky. They ran toward the chaos. People were stumbling away from the refugee center, coughing and clutching their faces. Inside the building, Lyra could see more smoke and hear crying children. "The refugees," Daniel said, horror in his voice. "Something is wrong." They pushed through the panicking crowd. Inside the center, the scene was terrible. People lay on the floor, struggling to breathe. Their skin showed strange dark marks, spreading like ink in water. Daniel dropped to his knees beside the nearest victim, checking vital signs. "This is not smoke inhalation. This is something else, some kind of poison or disease." More people began collapsing in the streets. Within minutes, dozens were sick, then hundreds. All of them had been at the festival or near the refugee center. Lyra felt ice in her stomach. Inch the raiders. They must have left something behind, something that took time to spread. Daniel was already pulling out his medical scanner, running tests on the sick. "We need to get these people isolated and figure out what this is before it spreads to the whole city." Lyra looked at the growing chaos around them. The twin moons that had seemed so beautiful moments ago now looked down on a disaster. She activated her emergency communication device. "This is Princess Lyra. We have a medical crisis. I need all doctors and scientists to report immediately to the lower district. We have a potential plague." The medical center transformed into a battlefield against an invisible enemy. Doctors and scientists from every species in the Alliance worked through the night, trying to understand the mysterious illness. Lyra moved between rooms, organizing resources and comforting frightened families. Daniel stayed in the research lab, running test after test on samples from the sick. By dawn, 200 people had fallen ill. The dark marks spread across their skin like spider webs. They struggled to breathe. Their temperatures climbed dangerously high. Worst of all, the illness affected different species in different ways, making treatment nearly impossible. The raiders must have planted a biological weapon, Elder Kavros said, looking exhausted. But we have never seen anything like this before. Lyra felt helpless watching her people suffer. She had rescued them from the asteroid only to bring them to this fate. There has to be something we can do. Daniel emerged from the lab, his eyes red from lack of sleep but bright with possibility. I think I found something. The disease acts differently in each species because it attacks the immune system at its strongest point. It is designed to turn each body's defenses against itself. Can we stop it? Lyra asked. Maybe. Human immune systems work differently than most alliance species. We evolved fighting millions of different diseases on Earth. Our bodies are used to adapting quickly. Daniel pulled up data on his tablet. I tested my own blood against the pathogen. My immune system recognized it as a threat, but did not overreact. It stayed balanced. So, humans are immune? Kavros asked. Not exactly, but our immune response might hold the key to creating a treatment. If we can combine human antibodies with Zalvin healing properties, we might create something that works for everyone. Lyra understood immediately. You need my blood. I dragon shifters have the strongest healing ability in the Alliance. Yes, Daniel said carefully, but it is not without risk. We would be creating something completely new, mixing our biologies in ways that have never been done before. How long will it take? If we work together, maybe 12 hours. But Princess, you have not slept. You need rest. People are dying, Lyra said firmly. We work now. They returned to the lab together. What followed were the longest 12 hours of Lyra's life. She and Daniel stood side by side, mixing compounds, running simulations, and testing results. When one approach failed, they tried another. When frustration threatened to overwhelm them, they encouraged each other to continue. Try adjusting the enzyme balance, Lyra suggested during their 8th attempt. That could work, Daniel said, on making the changes. He ran the test and his face lit up. Look, the pathogen is breaking down. The immune response is stabilizing. We did it? Lyra hardly dared to hope. We need to test it on a living subject first. Volunteers only. Test it on me, Lyra said immediately. You are not sick. But I could be. I have been exposed to it for hours. If this treatment works on someone healthy, it proves it is safe. Daniel hesitated, then nodded. All right, but I monitor you every second. Lyra took the injection without fear. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then she felt warmth spread through her body, gentle and strengthening. Her already strong healing abilities seemed to multiply, flowing through her like liquid sunlight. Your readings are incredible, Daniel said, watching the monitors. The treatment is enhancing your natural abilities instead of fighting them. This is exactly what we hoped for. They began treating the sick immediately. One by one, patients received the new medicine. Within hours, the dark marks began fading. Breathing became easier. Temperatures dropped to normal levels. Children who had been unconscious opened their eyes and asked for their parents. By the next evening, every sick person was recovering. Not a single life was lost. The city erupted in celebration, but Lyra and Daniel barely noticed. They had collapsed in the break room, too exhausted to move. We saved them, Lyra said, her voice rough with tiredness. We did, Daniel agreed. He was sitting on the floor, leaning against the wall. I could not have done it without you. Your healing properties were the key that made it all work. And your human adaptability showed us how to use them. We needed both. Daniel smiled at her. We make a good team. Again. Lyra looked at him, really looked at him. His hair was messy, his clothes wrinkled, and he had dark circles under his eyes. But his expression was peaceful, satisfied. He had not done this for glory or reward. He had done it simply because people needed help and he could give it. Daniel, Lyra said quietly, why did you come to Zalvine Prime? Earth has many scientists. Why you? He thought about it for a moment. I wanted to understand. After my father died, I realized how much we miss when we only see the world from our own perspective. Every species has wisdom to share, ways of living we never imagined. I wanted to learn from all of you, to build bridges between different kinds of people. You are not looking for power or status? No, Daniel said simply. I just want to help, to connect, to be useful. Lyra felt something shift inside her, like a door opening that she had kept locked for years. She had been so afraid of choosing wrong, of bonding with someone who wanted to use her. But Daniel had never asked for anything. He had simply stood beside her, offering his help and his honesty. The coronation is in 10 days, Lyra said. I know. Have you decided about the companion situation? Lyra's heart beat faster. I am considering it. There is someone who might be right. That is good, Daniel said, though something flickered across his face. They are lucky, whoever they are. Before Lyra could respond, Pip burst into the room. Princess! The council requests your presence immediately. They say it is urgent. Lyra and Daniel followed Pip to the Crystal Hall. The council members stood waiting, their expressions serious. Elder Kavros stepped forward. Princess Lyra, we have reviewed the situation. You saved the colony. You saved our people from plague. You have proven yourself a capable leader. He paused. But the law is ancient and clear. Without a bonded companion, you cannot be crowned. We have decided that if you do not choose someone within 10 days, we must select a different heir. Lyra felt anger rise in her chest. You would take the crown from me because I will not accept a false bond? We would take it because the law requires it, another council member said. Tradition exists for a reason. Then maybe tradition is wrong, Lyra said, her voice shaking. Or maybe you have not truly looked at what stands before you, Kavros said gently. His eyes moved to Daniel, then back to Lyra. 10 days, princess. Choose wisely. The council dismissed them. Lyra stood in the empty hall, feeling lost. Daniel touched her shoulder gently. Whatever you decide, I will support you, he said. Lyra turned to face him. What if I decide to choose you? Daniel stared at Lyra, his expression shifting from surprise to wonder to concern. Me? Lyra, I'm honored, but are you sure? I'm human. We've only known each other for a few weeks. Your people might not accept it. My people saw you save their lives, Lyra said firmly. They saw your courage and your kindness. That matters more than where you come from. She paused, her voice softening. And in these weeks, you have shown me what true companionship should be. You see me, not the crown. You stand beside me, not behind or ahead. You make me stronger without making me feel weak. Daniel's eyes grew bright. I feel the same way. Working with you, learning from you, it's been the most meaningful time of my life. But this is a huge decision. Your whole future, your whole kingdom depends on it. I know, Lyra said. That is why I am sure. The next days passed in a blur of preparation. Daniel accepted Lyra's offer with a full heart, but they both knew challenges lay ahead. The coronation was set for 5 days away, and not everyone was pleased with Lyra's choice. 3 conservative council members requested a private meeting. Lyra agreed, bringing Daniel with her. Princess, we must speak plainly, Councillor Vex said. His red scales gleamed with agitation. A human companion? Earth has been in the Alliance for mere months. Their technology is primitive. Their culture is unknown to us. How can you bind yourself to one of them? Because he has proven himself worthy, Lyra replied calmly. Daniel saved lives when others hesitated. He brought knowledge we did not have. Is that not what a companion should do? Provide strength where we have weakness? But what can Earth offer our empire? Another counselor demanded. The other Alliance worlds bring military power, resources, ancient wisdom. Humans bring nothing. Daniel had been quiet until now, but he spoke up. You're right that we don't have advanced weapons or vast fleets. Earth is small, and our technology is simple compared to yours. But we have something else. We have survived. Survived? Vex scoffed. Our world nearly destroyed itself a dozen times. Wars. Saw diseases, environmental collapse. We made terrible mistakes and learned from them. We had to, or we would have died out. Daniel's voice grew passionate. We learned how to find hope in dark times, how to adapt when everything changes, how to heal what seems broken. Those skills might not look impressive, but they saved everyone during the plague. They might save you again someday. The counselors exchanged uncertain glances. Lyra felt pride swell in her chest. Daniel had not defended himself with arrogance or anger. He had simply told the truth with honesty and dignity. The bonding ceremony is in 5 days, Vex said finally. We will watch closely. The coronation day arrived with clear skies and celebration throughout the city. Thousands gathered in the Crystal Plaza to witness their princess become their queen. Lyra wore traditional robes that shimmered like starlight. Daniel wore formal clothes from Earth, simple but elegant. The ceremony began with ancient songs and blessings from each species in the Alliance. Then came the moment everyone waited for. Elder Kavros stepped forward, holding the ceremonial crown. Before this crown can be placed, the bonding must be completed, he announced. Princess Lyra, do you choose this companion of your own free will? I do, Lyra said clearly. Daniel Cooper of Earth, do you accept this bond, knowing it will tie your life to hers, your fate to her people's fate? I do, Daniel said without hesitation. Then join hands and open your minds. Lyra and Daniel faced each other, clasping hands. The bonding ceremony was more than words or promises. It was a joining of consciousness, a moment where two minds touched and recognized each other. Lyra had always feared this moment, afraid of losing herself in another person. But as their minds met, she felt no fear. Daniel's thoughts were warm and bright, full of curiosity and compassion. She could feel his memories, his hopes, his deep caring for all living things, and he could feel hers, her strength and her doubts, her love for her people and her fear of not being enough. They did not become one person. They remained themselves. But now they understood each other in a way that went beyond words. Their strengths complemented each other perfectly, like two different instruments playing in harmony. Then something unexpected happened. A light began glowing between their joined hands, soft gold mixed with silver blue. It grew brighter, spreading around them in gentle waves. People in the crowd gasped. What is happening? Vex demanded. Elder Kavros's eyes were wide with wonder. I have never seen this before. The bonding is creating something new, a shared power. The light settled into their bodies, and Lyra felt it clearly. Her natural healing abilities had multiplied, strengthened by connection with Daniel's human adaptability. She could feel injuries and illness in people around her, and somehow knew how to help them. When she looked at Daniel, she saw the same realization in his eyes. This bond is blessed, Kavros said, his voice filled with awe. The universe itself approves this union. Before anyone could respond, alarms rang across the city. Guards rushed into the plaza, their faces urgent. The raiders! A massive fleet has appeared at the edge of our system. They're heading this way. Fear rippled through the crowd. The raiders who had attacked the mining colony had returned, and this time they brought an army. Lyra's mind raced. Their military could fight, but many would die on both sides. Wait, Daniel said quietly. What if we don't fight them? Not fight an invasion, Vex said incredulously. They will destroy us. Or maybe they're desperate, Daniel said. Think about it. They attacked a mining colony for resources. They left behind a biological weapon, probably by accident. These don't sound like conquerors. They sound like refugees. Lyra understood immediately. Their new shared connection let her follow his thoughts easily. You think they need help. I think they need hope. And maybe we can give them that instead of violence. It was a huge risk. Yeah, but Lyra had learned to trust Daniel's instincts. She turned to Kavros. Open a communication channel to the raider fleet. Princess, this is madness, Vex protested. No, Lyra said firmly. This is what a queen does. She finds solutions that save lives, not end them. The communication opened. A face appeared on the screen, scarred and tired. The raider leader looked surprised to receive a call instead of weapons fire. "I am Queen Lyra of Zalvine Prime," she said. "We know you attacked our colony. We know you're coming with force, but we don't want to fight you. We want to understand why." The raider leader's expression shifted to something like shame. "Our world is dying. Poisoned by war we did not start. We have children starving, elders with no medicine. We raid because we have no other choice." "What if you did have another choice?" Daniel asked. "What if we offered you sanctuary? Land to settle, resources to rebuild, a place in our alliance?" "Why would you offer us anything? We are your enemies." "You were desperate people making desperate choices," Lyra said. "But desperation doesn't have to define you. Join us. Contribute your skills and knowledge. Help us build something better than endless conflict." Silence stretched across space. The raider leader looked at someone off-screen, then back. "If you're lying, if this is a trap—" "It's not," Daniel said simply. "We're offering you what everyone deserves, a chance at peace." The raider fleet held position for long minutes. Then slowly their weapons powered down. On the leader's scarred face showed something Lyra recognized: hope struggling to be born. "We accept your offer, Queen Lyra." The coronation ceremony completed with joy instead of battle. Elder Kavros placed the crown on Lyra's head while Daniel stood beside her, his hand in hers. The former raiders landed peacefully, their children staring in wonder at a world that welcomed instead of rejected them. That night, Lyra and Daniel stood on the balcony of the Crystal Palace, watching 3 moons rise over their city. The crown felt lighter than she had imagined. "I resisted this for so long," Lyra said softly. "I thought choosing a companion would trap me. But you freed me instead." Daniel smiled, pulling her close. "We freed each other. That's what real partnership does." Below them, the city celebrated. Former enemies shared food and stories. Children from a dozen worlds played together under the moonlight. And at the center of it all stood a queen and her companion, 2 different people who had found strength in each other and offered that strength to everyone around them. Lyra had spent years fearing fate would force her into a bond she did not want. Instead, fate had led her exactly where she needed to be, to the person who saw her truest self and loved her for it. Sometimes resistance was just fear wearing a different face. And sometimes surrendering to destiny was the bravest choice of all.